Eddie, a delivery driver struggling to make ends meet, had separated from his wife Amy and their daughter Sarah, largely due to his failure to take responsibility and provide for them consistently. At the time of the incident, Eddie was unable to retrieve his van from the mechanic because he couldn't afford to replace the broken alternator, which left him without a vehicle and, consequently, without a way to earn money or pick up Sarah from school. Desperate to resolve his financial situation, Eddie resorted to stealing a wallet from the workshop where his van was being repaired. He then made several unsuccessful attempts to borrow money from friends or acquaintances. Determined to get back on the road, he began searching for unlocked cars in hopes of stealing something he could sell for quick cash. On his way, he bought 3 scratch-off lottery tickets and used 2 of them immediately, but neither won him anything. As he searched for cars to rob, he briefly paused to give water to a dog that was locked inside a vehicle, showing a flicker of empathy despite his growing desperation. During a phone call with his daughter Sarah, who was upset with him for missing yet another pickup, Eddie came across a parked luxury car that was unlocked. He got inside to look for valuables, but found nothing. When he tried to leave, however, all the doors locked automatically, trapping him inside. The car, it turned out, was a custom-built trap designed by its owner. After panicking and trying in vain to escape, Eddie noticed a screen lighting up with an incoming call, "Answer me." He ignored it at first, continuing his attempts to break free. Eventually, after repeated calls, he answered and was introduced to William, the owner of the vehicle, who revealed that Eddie had been caught in a carefully designed trap. William explained that this was not the first time someone had been caught. He had trapped 6 others before Eddie, who was now number 7. Furious and demanding to be released, Eddie was tased by William. In response, Eddie pulled out a gun and fired, but the bullet ricocheted and struck his own leg, causing severe injury. William continued to torment him, tasing him repeatedly while delivering long-winded monologues about justice and morality. Eddie screamed for help, but the car was soundproof and its windows were opaque from the outside, making it impossible for anyone to see or hear him. When Eddie begged William to call 911, William refused and revealed that he had jammed all signals inside the car, cutting off access to cellular, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi networks. As Eddie lost blood and grew weaker, William continued his psychological torment. At one point, Eddie passed out from the pain and exhaustion. When he awoke, he found himself still trapped, able only to watch the rain fall through the sunroof with no sign of rescue in sight. Eddie was growing increasingly weak from hunger and dehydration. The next day, William initiated another call. Desperate and frustrated, Eddie demanded food and water, but instead of helping, William began recounting details about his life. Uninterested and angry, Eddie cursed at him. In response, William repeatedly tased him and escalated the psychological torment by blasting loud music at full volume while turning the air conditioning on high, making the car freezing cold. As time passed, the relentless song drove Eddie to the edge. Shivering and barely able to think clearly, he finally broke down and apologized for his earlier behavior, hoping for some relief. William ignored him until the music stopped and the AC shut off during a nighttime call. This small reprieve gave Eddie a brief moment of calm amid the mental and physical torture. The following day, Eddie urinated into a bottle out of necessity and continued trying to find a way to escape. He knew William had cameras everywhere, watching his every move. This time, however, William wasn't monitoring him closely. During a call, William remarked, "You look terrible down there," which made Eddie realize that William might be observing him from a nearby high-rise. Looking up, Eddie spotted a man on a rooftop holding a phone, confirming his suspicion. Eddie then pressed William for answers. What exactly did he plan to do with him? William revealed that he was suffering from terminal prostate cancer and only had about 4 months to live. He explained that this entire setup, his custom-built car, Dallas, and his capture of thieves was his way of making a final statement, seeking justice in a system he believed had failed everyone. Eddie suggested calling the police so he could be arrested, but William dismissed the idea entirely. He expressed deep cynicism toward the judicial system, claiming that law enforcement, prosecutors, and judges no longer held any real power or concern for ordinary people. During their ongoing conversation, when William criticized how repeat offenders were treated in the legal system, Eddie replied, "Four fingers." William proposed a twisted deal. If Eddie provided his social security number, he would check whether Eddie was a repeat offender. If he was, William would cut off 4 of Eddie's fingers. If not, he would let him go free. Initially, Eddie refused, leading to an argument before William ended the call. In retaliation, William turned the music back on at full volume and cranked up the heat inside the car. Starving, dehydrated, and overwhelmed by the unbearable conditions, Eddie nearly drank his own piss in desperation, but stopped himself. Eventually, William offered a trade. If Eddie gave him his social security number, he would turn off the heat and provide water. Desperate and broken down, Eddie complied. True to his word, William delivered water, hidden under the passenger seat when Eddie was unconscious. Later, Eddie scratched off his final lottery ticket and won $500, the exact amount he needed to reclaim his repaired van. He sincerely apologized to William for breaking into his car. However, William refused to release him, though he did give Eddie a cookie as a gesture of mock kindness, opening the glove compartment to retrieve it. While taking the cookie, Eddie noticed something unusual: the power line connected to the car's internal systems. When William received a call about a pregnant patient and left his apartment, Eddie seized the opportunity. He opened the glove compartment, took a photo, and traced the wires leading to a safety switch he could potentially pop to disable the car. As Eddie worked to unplug the safety mechanism, his nail broke, and just as he was making progress, William returned unexpectedly and caught him. He tased Eddie violently, warning him to keep his hands visible at all times. Determined, Eddie continued his efforts, using his foot to avoid detection. By the next day, Eddie was severely dehydrated and eventually forced to drink his own urine to survive. Eddie, while trapped inside the car, caught sight of a parent teaching their daughter how to ride a bike. The image struck a deep chord in him, reminding him painfully of his own daughter, Sarah, and the many moments he had missed with her due to his failures. Overcome with regret and longing, he resolved to escape, not just for survival, but so he could be there for Sarah again. That night, Eddie continued working on the safety switch hidden beneath the dashboard. He pushed the power button repeatedly, refusing to give up, until finally the car's systems powered on. Though he still couldn't unlock the doors, he discovered that he now had control over the steering and acceleration. Before he could make a move, William called in and remotely took over the vehicle. Eddie was stripped of control once more as William began driving through the city streets. During this forced journey, William gave Eddie a grim tour of society's underbelly, showing him people living in poverty, addicts wandering aimlessly, and criminals exploiting the weak. William wanted Eddie to witness what he believed was a broken world, where justice no longer existed within the system. After passing through a peaceful neighborhood, William suddenly accelerated, shifting into a terrifying, high-speed chase through dark alleys. They came upon 2 thugs beating someone senselessly. William honked the horn, drawing their attention. One of them pulled out a gun, but William simply ran him over without hesitation. The second thug tried to flee, but William pursued him relentlessly, eventually cornering and crushing him against a gate. Despite Eddie's desperate pleas for mercy, William killed him without remorse. The brutality shattered whatever hope Eddie had left. He screamed in despair as William continued driving recklessly, dragging him through a harrowing psychological and physical ordeal. Eventually, William drove to the top level of a parking garage, giving no indication that he would stop. Eddie screamed at the top of his lungs, certain he was going to die. But at the last second, William halted the car. The next morning, William driving revealed something that sent chills down Eddie's spine. He claimed to have visited Eddie's wife and daughter at their home. At first, Eddie refused to believe him until William recited their exact address. Enraged and terrified, Eddie threatened him. demanding he stay away from his family. William responded coldly, accusing Eddie of being selfish and pointing out that Eddie owed years of unpaid child and spousal support, further fueling the emotional torment. Then, William drove directly to Sarah's school. As she stepped outside, he slowly followed her, driving dangerously close. Eddie begged for her life, apologizing profusely for ever trying to steal from William, but William ignored him. Just as it seemed he was about to run Sarah over, Eddie grabbed the gun and pointed it at his own head, threatening to take his own life if William didn't stop. At the moment of impact, Eddie fired the gun, but nothing happened. William had removed the bullets while Eddie was unconscious. In that instant, William swerved away, sparing Sarah's life, though not before scaring Eddie beyond words. After enduring what felt like the worst day of his life, Eddie made a final decision. He would no longer play victim. He started ripping out the cameras and disabling all communication systems inside the car. Despite repeated tasing from William, Eddie persisted, cutting off every means of surveillance and contact. He was done being controlled. He was ready to fight back. Eddie, emotionally overwhelmed and believing he was facing the end, looked through photos of his daughter Sarah on his phone, overcome with regret for all the time he had missed and the choices that had distanced him from her. Choices he once thought were for her own good. He recorded a voice message. In it, he apologized deeply for not being there when she needed him most. He feared William would kill him and suspected this might be the last message he ever sent to Sarah, if she even received it at all. William continued driving remotely in the dead of night before finally stopping the car, curious and anxious about what was coming next. Eddie soon saw William approach the vehicle in person. The moment the window cracked open, Eddie lunged at him in fury, but William responded by repeatedly tasering him into submission. Calmly, he handed Eddie a zip tie and ordered him to bind him tightly. With no other choice, Eddie complied. William then placed a bag filled with tools and weapons, likely meant for Eddie's execution, into the back seat. Then, he took the driver's seat beside Eddie, loaded his Glock, and offered Eddie a joint. William handed him some gummy bears before continuing their drive toward what Eddie believed was his final destination. During the ride, Eddie studied the tools in the back and asked if this was William's plan to break and kill him. William replied that he only wanted to give Eddie a taste of hell. When Eddie noticed the bracelet William wore, the one given to him by his late daughter, Emma, he began questioning him about it, provoking William further. In response, William slammed on the brakes, causing Eddie to the dashboard and start bleeding. But instead of cowering, Eddie laughed and kept pushing, fueling William's rage. Eddie pressed him to explain what happened to Emma. William revealed the tragic story. During a robbery, he and his daughter had been held at gunpoint, and after complying with every demand, the criminals shot and killed Emma in front of him. That loss became the catalyst for Dallas, the car built as a weapon of vengeance, designed to punish those who broke the moral code of society. Instead of sympathy, Eddie mocked him relentlessly. He told William that his actions weren't justice, but the desperate acts of a lonely, angry old man hiding behind the name of his dead daughter. Eddie goaded him into shooting, claiming death was better than listening to his self-righteous rants. The more Eddie taunted him, the more unhinged William became, until finally Eddie declared, "Emma would be ashamed of you." Fueled by anger, William slammed on the brakes again, hurting Eddie further. But Eddie just kept laughing. Meanwhile, while William focused on driving, Eddie worked quietly on the kill switch. At the perfect moment, he pulled it, shutting off the car mid-highway. The vehicle veered out of control and crashed violently. During the impact, William fired his gun unintentionally. The bullet ricocheted off the windshield and struck him in the chest. Both men were severely injured. Eddie's voice message to Sarah finally went through. He struggles to free himself, but William regained consciousness and reached for the gun. Eddie tackled him, beating him badly before grabbing the weapon and pointing it at him. Just then, his phone rang. It was Sarah, worried after receiving his final message. Reassuring her, he promised he would pick her up from school that day, but the car was now engulfed in flames, and William was bleeding out. Eddie demanded he unlock the doors, but William was already slipping away. Realizing escape was impossible through the doors, Eddie grabbed a hammer from William's bag and smashed the rear window, breaking free just as fire consumed the car. Barely conscious and severely weakened, Eddie stumbled onto the road until a passing truck stopped for him. The driver helped him aboard and drove him to safety. Back at the mechanic shop, Eddie waited for his van. He asked the mechanic how much he'd pay for his van and took a bike to see his daughter. His only priority now was keeping his promise to Sarah. For the first time in a long time, he was determined to be there for her.